You are 17, and this morning you swore 16 years to an army that will bury most of you. You raised your right hand to a man 400 miles away who will never learn your name, and you called it sacred, because that is what they call the oath, a sacramentum. You did not fully understand the words. You understood the bread that came after, and the coin they promised, and the eagle at the head of the column catching the light like something worth following. This is your life, climbing every rank of a Roman legion, on the cold edge of the Danube, in the last years of Augustus. The wage is real. The eagle is real. The retirement, for most men, never comes. The ones who could tell you what your oath is truly worth are the gray soldiers whose fingers no longer close, and there are far more of them in this camp than anyone will explain. Level 1. The oath. You are a tiro now, a raw recruit, the lowest thing in the camp that still counts as a soldier. You are one of 8 men who will share a leather tent, a cook pot, and a single hand mill for grinding grain, because the army issues bread as raw wheat and expects you to turn it into food yourselves. These 8 are your contubernium, your tent group, and the man who leads them is a decanus, first among your 8. By the end of the first winter, they are closer to you than your brothers ever were. You pool your coins for the things you share. You learn the older men's names. One of them is gray before his time, with hands that have stopped closing all the way around the mill handle, and the others call him Rufus. Rufus has been in this legion longer than you have been alive. When you ask how much of his term is left, he laughs in a way you cannot read. It is the first thing in this army you do not understand. Level 2. The Mule. You stop being a recruit and become a miles, a common soldier, which the army also calls a munifex, the man who does the work. And the work is your body. Every day, even in peacetime, you drill. You march 20 Roman miles in 5 hours with a pace setter counting the step, and when they want to frighten an enemy with your speed, 24. You strike a wooden post the height of a man, thousands of times, with a sword made heavy on purpose, until the real blade feels like nothing in your hand. A Jewish historian who watched your kind up close wrote that Roman drills were bloodless battles, and Roman battles were bloody drills. Standing at the post with your arm on fire, you decide he was being generous about the drills. There is a pride in it you did not expect. You can do things now that soft men cannot, and the eagle at the front of the column feels, some mornings, like it belongs partly to you. Then you learn to carry. Onto a forked pole across your shoulder goes everything: armor, shield, cookpot, rations, digging tool, 2 wooden stakes. At the end of each day's march, you and thousands of others cut a ditch and raise a fortified camp out of open ground. Then tear it down again at dawn. The load comes to more than 60 pounds. The soldiers have a name for themselves under all of it. They call themselves mules. You laugh the first time you hear it. You stop laughing around the 3rd week, when your feet have opened up and the pole has worn a groove into the bone of your shoulder you will feel for the rest of your life. This is the rank the songs are about. No one who wrote the songs ever carried the pole. Level 3. The Exemption. Then something good happens, and it happens because you turned out to be useful in a particular way. Maybe you can read and keep accounts. Maybe you can set a broken bone, or lay a straight course of stone, or keep the artillery from seizing. The army has a word for a soldier it cannot afford to waste on digging latrines. Immunis, the exempt. You still fight. But you are done with the worst of the drudgery, and for the first time the camp needs you more than it needs one more pair of hands on a shovel. Your pay has not changed. Under Augustus, a soldier earns 225 denarii a year, handed over 3 times, 75 coins at a time, by the man who carries the standard and keeps the strongbox. Except You never see 225. They deduct your food. They deduct your boots, your tunic, your share of the tent, and the mill, and the burial fund that will put you in the ground if the frontier does it first. What reaches your hand is a fraction of what the record says you earn, and the record is the number they quote when they tell the world how well Rome treats its soldiers. You have gained real standing here. You have also learned the first rule of the ledger. The number they promise and the number you hold are not the same number, and they never will be. Level 4. The standard. You climb again into the principals, the men who hold rank just below the officers. You might become a tesserarius, the guard commander who takes the night's watchword on a small tablet and carries it through the dark to the sentries, for a wage half again a common soldier's. You might rise to optio, a centurion's deputy, the man who stands at the rear of the sentry and stops it from breaking when the front rank wavers. You might carry the standard itself, and here, holding rank at last, you finally understand the laugh. Because the man who carries the standard does not only carry the standard, he carries the strongbox. Every soldier's savings, the coin he does not drink or gamble away, sits in a chest beneath the eagle, and the eagle belongs to the emperor, and so, when it comes to it, does the chest. And the oath you swore at 17, you turn it over now with a grown man's eyes and see what the boy could not. You never agreed to 16 years. You agreed to stay until they no longer needed you. 16 was the old number. Then it was 20. Then the mountain wars 8 men faster than Rome could raise them, and the discharge simply stopped coming. The exact numbers are lost. The shape is not. The gray men in your tent are not there because they love it. They are there because the door they were promised was never a door. That is what Rufus was laughing at. He was laughing at you, kindly, the way you laugh at a boy who thinks the number in the oath is the number that counts. Level 5. The vine staff. If you live, and if you are hard enough, you reach the rank the whole ladder was pointing at. You become a centurion, one of 60 in the legion, and they put into your hand a length of vinewood about a yard long. The vitus. It is the badge of your office, the thing that tells every man in the camp who you are without a word being said. It is also a stick, and you are expected to use it. A centurion beats the men who are slow, who are filthy, who fall asleep on watch, who flinch in the line. And the soldiers have a private name they keep for a centurion who loves the vine too much. They call him Cedo Alteram. Fetch me another, for the way he shouts for a fresh staff when the first one breaks across a man's back. You promise yourself you will never earn that name. Then, one gray morning, a soldier does something small and wrong, and the whole century is watching to see what the new centurion is made of, and the staff is already in your hand. You bring it down. You get as far as the third stroke before you recognize the back in front of you as a man from your first tent, one of the 8. One of the ones who taught you your knots. You stop. Everyone sees you stop. That night, no one at the fire meets your eye, and you understand you have crossed into the half of the army that holds the staff instead of feeling it, because there is one rank left above you, and it is the one that finally explains the gray men, and the laugh, and the chest beneath the eagle. Level 6. Finale. Above the centurions is the first spear, the primus pilus, senior fighting man of the legion, who if he lives, leaves rich enough to sit among the knights of Rome. Above him, the camp prefect, an old first spear, who simply stayed. A few men reach that thin air. You may. Most of your 8 will not. Then Augustus dies, and 30 years of swallowed grievance comes up at once. The legions of Pannonia set down their tools and will not lift them again, and you are wearing the wrong badge for it. Their list is short. 16 years, the real 16, a denarius a day. the discharge paid to living men, and not their heirs. They come hunting the centurions who loved the vine staff, and the vine wood in your hand is why some of them are looking at you. One the soldiers had named Cedo Alteram, fetch me another. The men who had felt his stick fetched him one last thing. He did not live out the morning. You keep very still, and you are ashamed of how still you keep. You look for Rufus, and do not find him. He went into the frozen ground the winter before, still under the standard, still owed the 3,000 denarii Rome had fixed as the price of 20 years and more of a man's one life. He kept a tally of his years scratched inside his shield. No one ever paid it out. The number just stopped when he did. You are standing there, a centurion with a vine staff you can no longer feel the weight of, and you finally understand the oath you swore at 17, with your right hand raised in the cold. It was never a promise the army made to you. It was a promise you made to the army, and the army was the only one holding the pen. If the weight of that oath stayed with you, subscribe. There is more of this frontier where it came from. Everyone hearing this has signed something they did not fully read, has given years to something that quoted them a smaller number than it charged, and has told themselves the door would open once they were done. The Romans just wrote the terms on a boy's raised hand and called it sacred. Somewhere in that same camp, on that same cold morning, another recruit is 17. He is lifting his right hand. They have told him the term is 16 years. He believes them, the way you did. He does not yet know to watch the gray man at the mill, whose fingers no longer close, and who is already, quietly, beginning to laugh.